two of the guys from Red Sun Rising. And we've been doing everything remotely, and it's been like so cool that it forced us to really learn the program and figure this out. And so that's been a silver lining, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's one main approach that, I mean, that I know that I've taken and artists have taken as well, is, nobody likes this time. I mean, you guys, this is your time to be out, time to be doing things, seeing fans. If you're working on a project, get out and do a set, do an acoustic set, maybe locally, be out amongst the people, get direct feedback. And you don't get that I don't think as well when you are, doing an acoustic live or on Instagram or something like that. I think you like watching that. And especially you, I mean, I've seen you perform on stage multiple times, and there's that energy that I think you see and you feed off of, and that energizes you, and then the crowd gets energized and just kind of bounces back and forth. So that's to not have that element, but to be able to utilize that same kind of energy into, I can go and learn some new stuff and things that down the road will become very useful knowledge to have, as far as how to do these things remotely, how to, if you're going to have a guy that's across the country, how do we get his part in? How do we figure these things out? But, so yeah, I mean, using this time to learn and educate is, I think it helps with the sanity factor too.
Yeah. I mean, and that and just taking care of yourself. I mean, there's the obvious memes of like, oh, I've been eating and I've been drinking every night, and which I have, but I've also like done self-care. I've made sure I worked out every day, and I see that you do that too. And it's like, even if it's the body weight stuff, and like, I'm actually probably in better shape than I was going into this, and because it's like really forcing me to like concentrate on it. And I guess that's just been my mental state, is like, how am I going to come out of this quarantine better than I went in, whether it's physically, mentally, inspired by something, whatever it is. So I've just been kind of hanging on to that and just working every day on something.
Right. Yeah. The workout stuff, that routine, there is so much benefit outside of just obviously the benefit of being active and moving your body as much as you can. I was never a gym guy, so working out at home has always been my thing, or running, being out in the fresh air. But when you don't have, I have a 10-year-old, and we had a pretty slick routine down. And got up, did my thing, get him ready for school, off to school, and then my day kind of went, and until he was done. When you don't have that like legit obligation to be somewhere at a certain time, mentally you can go, well, I guess I could just sleep in, or I could just lay around all day. There's not an obligation that I need to make happen today. But to overcome that for me has been get a workout in, at least make your bed and get a workout in. Like, those are the two things. If I accomplish those, I'm like, all right, I feel like today wasn't a complete waste. Because the drinking every night, and the, hey, we can eat a little extra. We can have a little, indulge. And
I feel like some of my friends and people that I know that do, have had normal jobs their whole life. I would get home from a tour and have to create a schedule for myself. So I might have a month off between tours, and it's easy to fall into that routine. Like, oh, I'm sleeping in, I'm tired. But like, if I made myself get up early and got my workout done and got any emails done that I need to do and did any writing, you have to force yourself to do that. And it's like, I kind of had practice doing that because of touring, where some people that just go to work and then, hang out on the weekends during the week, they're kind of like, I know I'm working from home for a little bit, but like, how do I fill the rest of my day?
Right.
And if you put your mind to it, you can fill a day very easily. So, I guess I had a little bit of experience with this.
Yeah. You've been quarantining in a van with a bunch of dudes for, for the early part of your career. And then obviously,
I don't miss that smell.
No, the closet smells so nice, comparatively speaking.
But I would take it right now. I would take it.
I know.
I would take peeing in a bottle right now.
Well, there are you can still do that, Mike.
I can
You know,
still do that.
it's
Yes.
fine. If it you may get some looks from
Yeah.
you know the loves in your house. Like, what are you doing? I'm just trying to relive the good old days when
Yeah.
I could pee in a
Yeah.
bottle whenever I wanted to.
That's nostalgia.
Memories. But no, it's I had you on the podcast back in August, and we chatted about so many things. I think I've always been a huge fan of yours. I talked about my adoration for Polyester Zeal and how it's still to this day. I for me personally, I put it in like since like the Offspring Smash album came out.
Oh, I love that record.
And here's the method behind that is a record that I remember specifically listening to from the first song to the last song all the way through. The next
awesome.
album after that was Polyester Zeal. It just, I don't know,
Wow.
every track on there, resonated with me in some way, in some light. And obviously, Other Side came out and was huge, and that was kind of the launching pad. And follow up after that, I remember messaging you several times, being like, I'm just saying that Push would be an awesome like single if you wanted to release it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that one is one of my faves, but still, having that, and then the follow up record, and we talked about before this, writing Thread basically up in a cabin in northern Wisconsin somewhere. I mean, that's seclusion, man. It doesn't get more middle of nowhere than that.
It was crazy, and then like to remove the like the daily stresses of normal life.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I've like this crazy stressful life or anything, but like you do have to have things to do. You have responsibilities, and when you just remove them all, and you're like, my only responsibility today, all day, and for the rest of these 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
is to be creative. Your mind starts to wander, and like you almost get to this door, like you open the door to creativity,
Mm-hmm.
when you do it in small doses. But when you completely submerge yourself and you get like past a point, it's like, I can't describe it. It's like, no drug could ever really take you there, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like your mind truly is allowing itself to be like, I have nothing else but to go down this rabbit hole of ideas. And I love that. And I've been getting more of that during this quarantine. And I feel like the ideas are just, I've always been this is a humble brag. I've been pretty prolific with writing. I have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of songs written,
Right.
but I feel like lately it's just been just more quality than I've been. I think I feel like it
Mm-hmm.
feels more mature to me, and it feels more inspired. So, and I'm anxious to see what this isolation did to other artists. I'm anxious to see in 6 months what kind of music comes out of this quarantine. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I've had that exact conversation with several other artists about them and them individually having this time and being able to not, obviously you have back of your mind concerns as an artist, because you want to be back out on the road. You want to be performing.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of uncertainty that's out there right now, but you don't have that, DOS stuff to worry about. There's not, besides jerks on podcasts calling you up and being like, dude, let's jump on one. There's not the laundry list of things that you need to accomplish. So you have that frees up the mental space. And I was talking several times. I'm like, imagine all of the talent that's out there right now is secluded at home, and has the opportunity, like yourself, just to just write and collaborate, and people, and you've obviously mentioned that earlier, you can collaborate from a distance, find new ways to do it, back and forth. You can bring in other artists, bring in other songwriters on things. And over this, because everybody's got a whole lot of nothing going on besides, hanging out, waiting for, to work on their craft and hone in on it. So yeah, 6 months is going to be, man, there could be some amazing music written, because
it's gonna be like a renaissance. I'm really hoping for that, and just completely a new wave of like a refresher. But it's funny because you mentioned the mental space like opening up, or like unlocking, or I don't remember how you phrased it, but oddly enough, lately, when a random memory pops into your head, like from a kid or when you were a kid or something,
Right.
like way back, and it's like vividly clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've been having those like extremely frequently within the last 2 weeks,
Hmm.
and I don't know why. And I don't know if it's because of um, the lack of social connection physically to other people, or because I've been focusing just on art for like a longer period of time. I don't know what it is, but like, you know, that reminded me of that. And I just think it's kind of fascinating, like the human mind and how it operates when you put it in a different condition.
Well, imagine all the clutter that's in there on the day to day for, for artists, for everybody. You've got 25 million things that you are responsible for. If you have children, I mean, that quadruples that number. And
Yeah.
so there's always something, whether you're cognitively thinking about it at that moment or not, those things are always there. And there's always a clock, and there's always a time that something has to be accomplished. When you take all of that mental clutter out, and the pathways kind of clear up a little bit, and it's amazing what fills that gap. What finds its way, especially when you're talking about memories from the past that filter their way through, because there isn't all the blockage of not even the present, but anxiety about tomorrow, and regret from yesterday, and the
Yeah.
you're like, wow, I can really totally be present in this moment right now. And oh, look at that, I just opened up an alleyway to something I hadn't thought about. And the clarity, yeah, I've been the same way. I've always been in, semi into meditating. It's always been a part of my morning routine,
Yeah.
just to get 15, 20 minutes of that time where I try to shut everything else off. And I do it in the morning right after, I get up, and I have my morning water and the things that I take in the morning. And I just take that time, and I've noticed that the chatter is much quieter. The calming of the mind seems to take a lot less effort on my part, just because there's not that constant pressure to be, okay, got to go, thinking about the 12 things that you have to do in the next half hour. So it's really opened up, that headspace for a lot of creativity, for, interpreting things differently. I mean, hearing music differently. I mean, I noticed that a lot too, as I've found myself down the rabbit hole of finding new artists that are out there, and new sounds that are out there. And
Yeah.
it's been, a refreshing, I guess, quarantine, maybe.
Yeah. And to those points, like talking about like de-stressing your life and like, meditation, whether you meditate or you just take a couple, minutes to just breathe and just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, be one with yourself for a second. Getting rid of that chatter, is, I feel like a lot of people that are stressing about what's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
at the end, if someone lost their job, or they don't know what they're going to do financially. um, I felt that, I still feel that, but
Mm-hmm.
I think when I lowered my anxiety levels about it, and I really acknowledged it and said, this is not going to change, so I can't stress about something I can't change. How do I pivot?
Yep.
I think the clarity started to come to me on how to fix it for myself, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I've given this advice to a couple friends that were, stressing out about it. And I'm like, you need to find the clarity, because you're not going to think clearly if you're stressing about it and not knowing what to do, and just telling yourself, I don't know what to do. And it may take some time, but that's just some unsolicited advice, I guess, to clear the mind, and I think it'll come to you.
Yeah. And there's the challenge with that, because I agree. I think if you can accept what has happened or what you are going through, and obviously there's a lot of people going through it. I'm going through it myself. It is a struggle, but to top it all off, it's a struggle. And then you're like, maybe you find that moment of, okay, I can get through the next X amount of weeks, and I have the foresight to be able to figure out what happens from there. The challenge in lies when the can keeps on getting kicked down the road a little further. You're like, okay, now it's the end of the month. Okay.
Right.
Reevaluate, reassess. That's what makes this time so wild. I don't want to say Wild West, because it's not, but you wake up on the daily and like the rules can change. It
Yeah.
feels like the NFL, like all of a sudden we decided like, instead of having like a same set of rules every season, maybe changing them every once in a while, we'll go to the players union and talk about stuff. Now we're just going to change like mid game. Like, nope.
Yeah.
Hey, remember when you could do that? You can't do that
Yeah. You
anymore.
can't do it
That's
anymore.
sorry. That's a flag, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like this is a generational defining moment. Like, we'll remember this. Like, and we'll talk about like, oh, what we do in the quarantine, or hopefully we don't. But it's like, you and I have never seen anything like this in
No.
our life. Like, it's wild. So it's interesting to see how different people react to it and handle it, and how people will come out of it. But um, yeah, positivity, man. I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And 2020 just kind of has been continually dealing the world different stress points and like, oh, can you handle this? Oh, okay, you
And
can. How about this?
how about murder hornets?
Everybody's no longer scared of Corona.
Yeah, we got murder hornets.
Send the murder hornets in. I watched that video of there's some guy who does it for apparently it's his gig, but he'll go out and get stung by the most dangerous creatures.
I've seen this guy.
Yeah, that was wild. He got stung by one of those things.
Did he really?
Yeah, they show him he holds it with a tweezers and he's holding it up against his arm and they got some high def cameras. You can see the stinger going in and like instantaneously dude is like freaked. Like,
because I know which guy you're talking about. Because
Yeah.
I've seen him get like stung by like scorpions and
Yep.
like weird ants. He's let bite him and stuff like that. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. I
Yeah.
didn't know he did a murder hornet one. That's hilarious.
He's done the murder hornet and it does not look pleasant. But I imagine none of them are pleasant, but
No.
it was interesting how it all of a sudden, I'm sure he didn't do it recently. It was probably done before overseas, but you're like, huh, they released this on us now. Good. This is fun.
I know. It's unbelievable.
First artist to come out with a song about murder hornets.
Who's gonna get the movie rights to the just 2020? That's all. That's the title. It could just be a thriller, like just 2020. That's it.
I know. Well, maybe 2020 will loosen their copyright on 2020 and bring Barbara Walters back and be like, so this was January and it seemed like it was okay. Then Kobe, and then
Yeah, I know. It's
that
just
was wild. Man.
one after another, man.
No, and yeah, there does seem like, and then Tiger King, and we all know how that is going to play out.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but you have having this time to write, and I want to talk about, because you've always had every song that I've heard you guys do, or that I've heard you do. There's always a ton of feel to it. Like when you write, it feels like there is emotion, tied to it. Not a lot of surface stuff, not a lot of, I want to call it kitschy, they're all like super duper, like hit after hit, but they're not written in that, I wrote a hit song. It feels like you wrote a hit song and it's also got depth and layers to it and emotion to it. Where do you derive all of that from? Is this life experience? Is it collaboration? Is it just kind of, again, when you talked about writing thread, clearing the mind and just finding the feelings, finding what works?
I think a lot of it is personal experience. Just, but then that only goes so far. It's like you can only write about so many things that you've encountered. So,
Right.
Sometimes I will try to think about the perspective of someone else dealing with something. Like if someone tells me, I had this terrible childhood, or I, I'm going through a bad breakup right now. Like I won't write about like, the guy breaking up with the girl and it's very obvious. I'll metaphorically think like, how is that person truly feeling? And how do I metaphorically, tap into the mind of that person and kind of put something out there that's relatable enough that someone's like, I can feel that. I don't know exactly what he's talking about. I think that's like my favorite type of lyric writing, because it feels relatable. Like the music will let you feel the emotion, and the lyrics kind of just guide you.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like if you can throw a metaphor in there enough that it kind of throws off the scent and makes you think about like, okay, this line makes sense, but this line I'm not sure, and I have to ponder it a little bit. And I don't know if people are sitting there listening to my music and saying and pondering the lyrics. I don't know, but
Mhm.
that's how I imagine it. I'm like, this is almost making too much sense. How do I metaphorically change this and relate it to something else that
Mhm.
can kind of throw off the scent of the exact meaning of this song, and but still hold the meaning,
Right.
and let the music just, you know, be the heaviest emotion. Um, but a lot of times when I'm writing music, because I play guitar, I play piano,
Mhm.
um, and I'll usually just start doing chords or a riff or just a guitar lick, and then I'll just kind of scat over it. And um, a lot of times the melody will tell you what to say
Mhm.
because you start naturally scatting or spitting a cadence and a general melody. And it's like, okay, this consonant sounds here, and you might just get one word out of that scat, and you're like, how do I fit that word into the emotion that this is kind of expelling?
Mhm.
And then I kind of start thinking like, how does that relate to a topic? And it's like this whole brainstorm process before I get to like, I'm going to write the song now. And I love that process. It's like, it drives me crazy in the best way.
It it makes sense because I can. I'm fathoming that, having that one word, you know, the melody, and then you get the one word, and then trying to, you know,
Yeah.
piece the rest of the song around it. Do you find do you have inspirations as far as songwriters that I don't want to say that you get that kind of path to, but are there people that even when you were growing up or when you first got into it, or maybe even throughout the beginning parts of your career, that there's songwriters you're like, yeah, that I can feel that I can relate to how he, you know, puts a song together. Are there people out there like that for you?
I think there's different people for different things. Like one guy that inspired me a lot that um, is both as a songwriter and as a vocalist was Chris Cornell. I
Mm,
feel like he had so many beautiful ways of saying something, and a lot of it was dark,
yeah.
and a lot of my lyrics are dark, and I'm not a dark person. I'm actually a very happy person, but I feel like I need to get rid of dark feelings through the music and through the lyrics that way. And I feel like he was that way. Um, and another one on the opposite end of the spectrum, it was Maynard Keenan.
Mm,
Um, you know, his lyrics, you don't always know what he's talking about. But they're just like so thought provoking, and the word choices are sophisticated. And, you know, it just, when you hear his lyrics, and then you hear like I'm if you like pop punk, don't shoot me. I'm just saying, if you hear like a fun pop punk song or something, the lyrics sound dumb in a
right.
way,
Yeah.
because if when you start really listening to like more sophisticated lyrics, and it can be a little progressive, but and then you got artists like Alanis Morissette who uses
Mm,
very sophisticated words, but she is writing pop songs.
right.
Like, so I guess I just take little bits here and there um, from different people.
I know you've told me before, but the cover of Alanis with Uninvited, and I remember hearing it. I think I heard it live before it was released as a single. Um, where did that? How did that? How did that? How did that happen? How did the magic? I mean, because it's,
that
you know,
that was just like one of those songs that you like, you know, we had always talked about like this. It's such a beautiful song. Like, it's so cool. It's like dark. Um, but when she sings it, like there's like this beauty and grandeur to it.
mm,
But the challenging thing was it was all orchestrated. Like her version is orchestrated.
Right.
It's not like it wasn't a rock band doing it. So when we had to do it as a 5-piece rock band, that was like really fun to break down the music. Like, what are the strings doing? Because you can't really do the same things with the guitar, bass, and drums.
Right.
You have to figure out different ways to kind of to make that music happen. And it was fun. Not to mention it was a challenge for me vocally, and I think it made me a better vocalist just trying to capture a little bit of her essence, and it's in a range that works well for a female singer, but
Mm.
it was very odd range. It's like right below where I would go into a falsetto
Right.
vocal. So I had to kind of like to keep the energy, I had to like stay there. And I really it took me a while to really like stretch the vocal cords to make that happen. But I think I came out like a better singer out of that.
It's a beautiful, beautiful remake of that song, and I think it. You know, you listen to the Alanis version, and I think you're right. It has a a beauty, sophistication, yet kind of undertone darkness to it. But when you guys did it, you know, lyrically, obviously, it's the same, but like the energy it puts off is different. You know, it's got like
Yeah.
it really it almost tears into you a little more than the Alanis version does. I think just because of the fact that it is done by a rock band, that there is, you know, there's going to be obviously just by default more aggression in the music behind it, but you're like, yeah, that's the Alanis cover. And you're like, it is, but like it's, they owned it and sold it like as a different, you know, it had a different outcome at the end. It was a
Thank you.
amazing cover that, you know, I still listen to each day, not each day, but you know, when I'm feeling the vibe, I'm like, yeah, that's a go-to. Let's put that one in.
Yeah.
Put that one in.
Well, thank you, because that's a huge compliment. Because you know you can easily just play a song, and cover a song, but like to make it your own, um, there is work to that. There is creativity to that,
Yeah.
and I always acknowledge artists that do a great cover because to really make it your own does take a lot of brain power. And so I appreciate you saying that.
Now you guys had obviously Polyester Zeal, the success from that, and Thread, and I'd gotten out. I can air quote because we're on video. I'd gotten out of radio last year, and not that I fell off the following the the artists that I love, but I took a lot of time, I think, to I've been living in active rock radio for 20 years, and I'm like, I hadn't heard. I mean, my kid's like, hey, have you heard this song before? I'm like, no, never heard of this artist, this song. So I took a lot of time for music discovery for myself, and it was refreshing. But the last we had spoke, I know you guys were out doing kind of an acoustic thing, not with the full band, but you were out doing some acoustic sets, which I think is
Yeah.
super cool. A really cool vibe for a band that when you see you live and fully plugged in, it's like I don't know, there's just crazy amounts of energy and sweat and wild
Yeah.
shirts, different color patterned shirts, and it's just it's a fun, crazy, wild show.
It's fun too to break things down
Yeah.
acoustically because you can really focus on the way the song was built in the first place, which is the melody and the lyrics, and it kind of takes on another identity. Speaking of covering a song, it's almost like covering your own song and delivering it in a whole nother platform, and a different shedding a different light on it, and certain lyrics or certain parts of the melody may pop more or be more present in those versions, and capture the emotion even better than like the studio produced version. So I've always enjoyed doing both sides of the coin.
But no, super fun tour to do, and I imagine I'm liking it to, like when you talked about covering Uninvited. It is reworking obviously somebody else's song, but the mastery that has to go into reworking your own song. Like,
Yeah.
hey, no, this is how we did it. Well, I know, but now we have the liberty to do
Yeah.
something a little different, or play with it, or like you said, put emphasis in a different spot than maybe it was in the.
And that takes time too.
Yeah.
Like that takes experience for it took us a long time to look at you get married to parts. You're like, no,
Mm.
that's like you said, that's how it goes. And you hear it a different way and it sounds wrong, but there's not really a wrong, there's nothing wrong about art. Like it's different and you just have to, hear it and different. And when you've heard a song so many times, it's hard to hear it that way. But, that's just experience.
Sounds like a fun process, though. You
Yes,
go through
absolutely.
and learn that. So the post that I saw, and I was saddened by, was that Red Sun was taking a break, going on a hiatus, and you know, as somebody who is not even in the industry, but strictly as a fan of the band and of you, and the times that we've got to hang. I mean, great group of characters, bird whistles, and just wildness,
Yeah.
and fun, and fully energetic, and always had the utmost respect for you guys as artists, and continue, like I said, I think from the Polyester Zeal, excuse me, front to back, that I could listen to, knew that there was just like this immense talent, and knowing how the industry can work, and never wanting to be the one to ask the questions about it. The band's on a little break, or not on a break, or doing a thing.
I
It's
think, I think, I won't say too much about it, but
right.
um, it's, I enjoyed Red Sun Rising and I enjoyed the process and, I've written a ton of music and for that band. And,
Mhm.
I was one of the founders of that band. Like that was my baby for the longest time. And, it gets to a point where, it was a chain of events,
Mhm.
but it kind of boiled down to um, it felt like it was the end of a chapter,
Mhm.
not the end of a career or anything.
Right.
It felt like that chapter needed to close,
Mhm.
and I right now I can't say that I will miss it
Mhm.
because I'm so excited about moving forward. I just hold on to the good memories from it, and I took from it everything I've learned,
Right.
and that music will always be there forever. And um, we had some independent records, a couple EPs and stuff, but at the end of the day, that band made two great records
Mhm.
that I'm extremely proud of, and that is work that came out of me that is on record and will be there forever. So I'm proud of it, and I'm also excited about where it to the level it got me to be
Mhm.
able to continue on with something else, and I'm really excited about that.
I think there was an evolution, from album one to album two, and in an amazing way, in a way that you could tell, and you even touched about this, about how you're writing now, is a maturity, growth. I think obviously that comes with the experience of that first record, and you know to now, and it makes me understand more the closing of a chapter line, because there is growth, and then I think you as an artist, an individual artist, have all this range and all this talent and all this ability, and you want to keep progressing. A lot of artists, when they try to do that, when they try to veer from the path and go and do something that sounds a little bit different, or something that's a little I don't want to say doesn't sound like you, because you're always going to have your own sound,
Yeah.
but try to venture out. You can get a lot of pushback from the industry. I was talking to Rick from Adelaide Way last night. We talked about the Linkin Park album, the last Linkin Park album,
Oh
and
yeah.
but they've always evolved. They've always
Mhm.
evolved, and this feels like this next chapter, just in following you on social media and seeing the things that you're working on. This feels like another growth point, another moving in an upward direction musically for you and the
Yeah.
guys that you still have involved.
Yeah. And as much as as you said, you get pushback from the industry, and like
Mm.
polyester zeal was different than thread.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of pushback from that and said, this doesn't sound like this record. It's like, well, we don't want to write the same record twice.
Right.
And then as much as you can, and you can feel that from fans, I feel like we lost fans from polyester zeal to thread, but
Mm.
we gained fans. So it felt like a lateral move, but it wasn't. It was just an evolution, and
Mm.
some people didn't get it, and some people joined at that point. But you also feel that pushback internally.
Mm.
It's like, okay, I want to take this here. Well, you can't, because I don't want to. I want to stay here because it's safe.
Right.
And it's like, well, then I guess instead of arguing about it, let's do something else where
Mm.
you can be safe and I can continue to grow. So, there's that happens all the time with bands.
Yeah.
It's, and I can't at this point, I can't fathom like going back. It feels like the past for me
Right.
already.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's soon, but and those feelings may change. It just feels in the past to me. But like I said, I only keep great memories from that.
Well, I think
refuse to.
it can feel more like the past when you're going through a time like now, when you do have, we talked about the freedoms and the time that you have to work on new stuff and to write new stuff and to collaborate on new stuff. Normally you wouldn't have this amount of time to move on. You'd have other things going on, other responsibilities to do, and the progression, the progress that you've made just because of the quarantine and everything that we're all living right now. It feels like that, gets you in the DeLorean and moves you a little bit further down, the path from the past. And
Yeah, and if you see the timeline, it was pretty crazy, because like we decided on the hiatus, and it was like, okay, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna do some acoustic stuff for a while, which is, by the way, is not the new project. That's just some
Right.
acoustic stuff that I'm doing, to kind of pass the time while we're building, me, Pat, and Dave.
Mm-hmm.
But the timeline was crazy, because we did the quarantine, we did some acoustic shows, whatever, and then the quarantine happened, and it's like we planned for that, and it almost became an accelerant,
Mm-hmm.
because now we were forced, like, okay, this is what you wanted. Now we're going to give you like all this time to work on it, so you better build it. And at first it was like, oh no, we can't be together. How are we going to do this? And then once we figured it out, it was like throwing gasoline on a fire. And
Right.
like, now I can't wait to, get this stuff going. Now it's just like we're producing like amazing amounts of material. And it's just, now it's figuring out how we're going to release it and when.
Yeah, and that's the complex part right now, for you guys, for a lot of artists, because even if you had, artists that have had albums ready to go out, there's some that are releasing them, but there are others that are finding different innovative ways to get that music out there, because they know the fans are also going through the same stuff, finding themselves, like myself, down the rabbit hole of discovery and new music, and they want. It's been, the cool part has been like having a chance to really see into artists' lives a little bit, because you do have the Instagram live stuff, and this podcast, this live stream where you're hanging out in your closet, and other artists that are going out and bringing their fans something to kind of help them get through. I feel like that relationship maybe has strengthened a little bit, because we are all on this level playing field, but the process of getting music out and the eagerness to do so, I imagine, weighs on you maybe a little.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people that have stuck by me through everything, from the very beginning, and who are probably listening to this or are going to listen to this, now's a great time to thank you, because you're always there. I feel like, even if it's just doing a quick update, or doing a little cover online, and the comments, when I see like, this made my day better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, that's crazy, because, if that's true, then that makes me feel everything justified. It's like, okay, I took the time, I did this little thing, and it was fun for me, but someone really got something out of it, and you know, maybe just made them smile, or maybe they were having a bad day, or maybe they're worried, maybe they have anxiety about what's going on, and that just eased it a little bit. And it really, you know, makes you appreciate music and art even more.
Well, imagine people that are they're scrolling through their news feed or they're on Instagram looking at pictures and stuff, and yeah, there is a lot of underlying tension right now, especially if you're out of work or you have to be home all the time, and maybe you like people and you want to be amongst them, which is a difficult thing to do right now.
Yeah,
But and then they come across, you doing a song, or it pops up that you're live doing something, or you're jamming on a radio station's live feed, and they get kind of that aha moment, or that moment to take those deep breaths that we talked about. Like,
yeah,
okay, familiar face, familiar voice, singing a song that they're familiar with, and it's comforting. And when it's difficult to find comfort, especially in the social media world where every third post could be something that's, murderous hornets.
yeah,
You want
murderous,
murderous hornets. You want to have something that's a little more comforting than, oh, great, this is the next thing that will keep us indoors is giant hornets. So yeah. I completely understand that. I'm and great for you to be there for them, and probably great for you to feel that those people are out there and they're listening and they're paying attention and they're following along with your story and with what's going on with you, and the excitement that I know I feel, following you on social media about the new things that you have going on, and talking to you on this about the writing process and how much this time has given you to create new music. And it builds up a lot of excitement, I think, and hope for people on the other side of this thing.
Yeah. And nice quote. On the other side, man, coming through.
I know. It's like,
on the other side.
Feel like life has come full circle. And it fits you like a glove. No, wait, okay, yes. That's enough. All right, hey, it's enough of the lyric drops here.
Yeah.
So what do you, once this is all done, and again, at this point, who knows what life looks like on the other side, what do you take away? We talked about the ability to do things and create more during this time, but the things that you will appreciate more once we're past this whole thing, the things that you'll breathe in more when you're enjoying them.
I think definitely live shows. I mean, that's just kind of an obvious thing. Like, not knowing when you could ever play one again makes you want it even more.
Yeah.
And I know I've come home from a tours and be like, oh my God, I'm finally home. Like, oh, but like I would give anything right now to just go play some shows and just be in a room full of people, yelling the music back. And that energy it gets you so high. Like it's unbelievable. Another thing is family. I think I don't pick up my phone enough and call my family members. And we would have never done this before, but like tonight I have like we do like a trivia on Zoom, like with a bunch of my family and like cousins. Like we would never have done that. But it's like it's making us closer, and it's like, oh yeah, I love these people. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's, but we would have never done that. And so there's a lot of great things that have come out of this that I will appreciate, and hopefully that mentality can kind of carry on once things get back to whatever normal will be after this.
100% agree with the family thing, and thank goodness we're going through this now better than when the Black Plague or the Spanish flu came through, when they just had candlelight and hope, and that's that. I mean, and
seriously,
that's really,
life's not that bad at that point.
We have the ability to connect with family, and it has given me in the same way. Cousins that we jump on the house party app, and you can talk back and forth and play games and enjoy their company, when it's probably been 6 months, a year since the last time you've spoken to them. For me, these people, and you're like, Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, you're in Houston now. Very cool. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Why is your husband running around the back wearing a dinosaur costume? Is this normal? These are things I should feel like we should connect on.
You should know this thing.
There should be a memo that gets sent out, but don't write those big long family Christmas notes. I don't got time for that stuff. But it really has, I think, brought that aspect of using technology as much as it's not the real thing. It really has, I think, reconnected a lot of people with those they maybe have lost touch with, and that's kind of realizing that that's one of the most important things that we have has been pretty special for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
By the way, do you have an Uncle Kent? He says.
Oh, that is actually my Uncle Ernie.
Okay.
Who went to Kent State. He loves Kent State.
Kent State won. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He says he is the smartest man alive.
Okay, he'll be on the trivia tonight, but he's going down. I'm gonna
he
kick
will
his
win.
ass.
He says he will win.
Yeah.
Especially John Wiley from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Thank you so much.
John, he's a veteran. He's a really good guy.
Awesome.
I talked to him quite a lot.
Appreciate you, brother. He says your uncle says that you're a playa, and this is great. I feel like there's.
He's just you can ignore him now because he's just gonna talk shit now at this point.
This is where the pregame smack talk happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Is on the podcast before trivia, but no, man. But super cool. I appreciate you taking the time out and jumping on here. It's really been fun to catch up and I appreciate the music.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's every song that you've ever written that I've had the pleasure of hearing has touched me in some way, and that's I can't say that about a lot of artists, and I've met and listened to a lot of them, and there's few I can say that about because, Well,
thank you. That means a lot, and definitely thank you for having me. And when the new project gets off the ground, let's have a recap.
Yeah, once we get out of the cage here, let's see what life looks like on the other side, and we'll get you back on and chat. Oh, I got to go Cavs on here too.
Oh, there we go.
Go Cavs.
Go Cavs.
Yeah, represent old school too. I like that.
Yeah, the old school logo is the best.
Yeah, I'm the same way with the Bucks, man. The old Brewers logo is probably brought that back. The MB. I just saw a poll that may be the best logo in baseball. Simple, clean.
It is.
Glad they brought that back because they went through some really bad times for 2 decades, and they played like it too. So, Mike, thank you so much. I will tag everybody, take all your social medias in the show notes of the podcast.
Thank you.
Check that out. And the video will be Oscar Robinson. You damn right. Love it, Uncle. See, maybe I'm on his side. But you can check this video out. By the way, it will be up on YouTube for anybody that didn't get a chance to catch the whole thing live. So check that out, and then the podcast will drop tomorrow. Mike, my brother, I appreciate you. Take care of yourself and your family, and let's get back on here soon, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.